Good morning, ladies. I am so excited to be here. Georgia and I met on the plane on the way to San Antonio and just became fast friends. And Kathy and I, unbeknownst to Kathy, have met years and years and years ago. As I said, I've been in Mary Kay 30 years. I've used the product for 38 years, and Juanita, what I tell people is I've used the product for 38 years, and I started when I was 2.
Oh, okay.
And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And so I'm very excited to share just some selling things with you today. You know, starting the business 30 years ago looks a little differently than it does today. Okay, so I have a little bit of knowledge because I don't know all of you. I'm just going to do kind of a quick read to the room. So if you are brand new and you've been in the company less than 6 months, can you raise your hand? Okay, and if you've been in a year? Okay. If you've been in over 3 years? Okay, over 5 years? Over 10 years? Okay, all right, that helps me. So recently, let's see, let me back up a little bit. I have a very much a detailed personality. I think being able to know your audience and to know the people in front of you kind of helps you read the room. It helps you know your audience when you're working with people. And I recently have adopted a new attitude, and to not be such a perfectionist and learning to do things messy. And that's a big stretch for me. And in doing so, I was at a vendor event and had met a woman, and she was a Pampered Chef consultant, and we were talking. And she was looking at my table, and she's like, you know, I've never used a skincare line. Now, mind you, she's my age. And I said, really? She goes, nope. She goes, I hop in the shower and I hop out of the shower. She's never used a skincare line. And she had recently lost 90 pounds. And she's like, I want to start taking care of myself. And she looked at the repair set and she said, how much is that set? And I told her it's $215. And she's like, oh, maybe there's a reason why I've never taken care of my skin. And I told her, I said, you know what? No, we can work around that. I said, we could do a party and you put her in your product. And she's like, we could do a joint party and we could do a Mary Kay Pepper Chef party. And I said, we could do that. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not exactly sure how we'll do this, but we'll do it, we'll figure it out. So I know years ago when I used to do shared parties or joint parties, it was, okay, you host a Pampered Chef party, I'll invite my friends, and then 2 weeks later, I'll do a Mary Kay party and you invite your friends. And I always remember that never quite worked out for one person. Sure. One person always had a really great party, and the other person, if it held, didn't do as well. So my wheels were turning. Well, something else you should know about me is up until March of last year, I did no social media. And I am a second-time sales director. I debuted, we've been a unit for a little over a year now. And I met a new adoptee last year, and she looked at me, she goes, how did you become a director if you haven't been online? I said, well, honey, we did things in person a long time ago, way before there was social media. And so last year when I went to leadership as a DIQ for the second time, I kept hearing them say, you need to be on Facebook, you need to be on Instagram, you need to draw a younger crowd, you need to. And I was being stubborn, and I said, but would Mary Kay want that? And as I'm thinking, is that something Mary Kay would want? Ryan Rogers is on stage talking about what an innovator his grandmother was, and I'm like, oh, fine. So I, kicking and screaming, after my 55th birthday, I joined Facebook last year. So I've only been on Facebook for 1 year. And so she says to me, well, we can do a Facebook party attached with our combined party. And I'm like, whoa, you are really sending me into deep water now, because now we're talking about something that I have completely not ever done. And I said, okay, that's fine. Well, what I will tell you, ladies, about my Facebook experience in the last year is I have studied it, I have watched it, I have participated in it. I don't want to say I've mastered it because I still have some questions, but I have really taken the time to figure out the ins and outs, what works, what doesn't work. And so I said to her, I said, well, we could do that, but I'm not as familiar with Facebook parties. She said, no problem. She goes, I'll set up the Facebook part for you. I said, you're going to set up my Mary Kay Facebook party? admin, and I'm like, okay. So I said, well, okay, we'll do this. And so I said, we're gonna do the party at your house because you're doing the Pampered Chef part. Just do appetizers, don't do a full meal. And we will just do hand facials for Mary Kay. We will both invite our customers to the same party and then utilize each other's time. She goes, and I'll start the Facebook parties a few days before the party and we'll run it for a few days after. I'm like, perfect. I could not tell you how amazingly perfect the whole thing turned out.
Yes.
It was wonderful. We got there at her, and this is the other thing I learned. Is everybody besides me, the dinosaur in the room, is everyone else on Facebook? Mm-hmm. Okay, and everybody has their own personal private Facebook group, right? And when I realized that she set up my Facebook party for her, it was just a group. And I'm like, oh, I get it. I understand what I'm supposed to be doing. So I took control of that group, no problem. We ran the Facebook party. I invited friends of mine that she didn't know. I invited good customers that I knew were probably getting close to ordering to help Corey. And so I had my customers join her Facebook party for Mary Kay and to order product for her to help her get her Christmas credit. When she saw that I was doing that, she's like, oh, that's smart. So then she invited her good Pampered Chef customers to my Pampered Chef party, and they ordered product to help me earn product. Nice. So see how we helped each other, but we didn't hurt each of our businesses.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And I had one of my very good customers. Shauna will order anytime I need her for anything. You guys have to have one of those customers. And I'm working for a goal, and her question is not how close are you, it's how much do you need to sell, and then she figures out how much she's going to order. She asked me, she said, what is Corey working for? And I said, well, she really wants a skincare set. And she's like, okay. And she just ordered $228 just like that, just to help and boost the party. It was amazing. And it was just so fun to see the interaction in the groups of people just stepping up to help. That particular party ended up being, for me, I sold $1,358.
Wow, that's awesome.
Okay. It was a great party. It wasn't my highest, but it was a really good party. Now, in person, this is how we navigated the in-person part. So I got there, she's cooking, everybody was sitting around the table. We had about 12 people around the table, okay? And I was planning on her going first, because I figured let's eat and then we'll do our faces, right? And she comes up to me and she's like, you go ahead and start, I'm not ready. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And so at that point I decided we're doing hand facials because there were so many people and there was only one girl that was regular time-wise. Everyone else was repaired, so that made it easy. And I went around, I introduced myself, I did my opening of my skincare class. So I opened the exact same way I would if I was doing a normal skincare class.
Okay.
And, just introduced myself, did a nice story, talked about the 100% guarantee on our products, all of that stuff. And then I said, we're gonna do something different today. And I did have a display. So I had all the full-size products out. I said, we're gonna do a hand facial. I said, but you have to promise me something. You're only gonna do the back of one hand. Now I did not start with satin hands like I normally would, because that would have ruined the experiment, okay? And so I had them wash the back of their hand with their cleanser. Now they got an itty bitty size amount because it's just for the back of the hand.
Yes.
But they did their cleanser, and then they did their lifting serum, and then they did their day cream. And then I let them put the night cream up here on their wrist and the eye cream so they could feel the consistency of it as I talked about the benefits for each product. And then when they were done, I had them compare their hands. I sold $860 right then and there at that table. And then we did satin hands afterwards to wash everything off. Okay? So again, I think Georgia's on my point of her showing a dash out the door and me talking about hand facials. It doesn't have to be sitting around the table with the trays, with the headbands, with, do you know what I mean? It's okay to think outside the box. It's okay to get creative.
Yes.
This was probably, I'm not the most wild and crazy kind of person, so this was probably like the most different thing I had ever done, but it was so exciting to see it unfold. And as it turned out, with talking to Corey afterwards, she had her largest Pampered Chef party she'd ever had. And now she's my newest transition come full circle. From somebody 2 weeks before that didn't even wash her face to sitting at my sales meeting last Monday night as a beauty consultant. And she's, pretty far up in Pampered Chef too. So that's pretty exciting to see her see the vision of what Mary Kay has. And so who do you know? Who do you know that maybe does Pampered Chef or does Tupperware? I mean, they're still around. Or does Scentsy that you can get with and go, you know what, let's combine our efforts and let's help each other. She was selling as much Pampered Chef for me as I was selling Mary Kay for her. And she was
intentionally, they were intentionally.
Exactly. And I apologize for the cough drop, ladies. I've been fighting something all week and I don't want to start coughing. So learn to think outside the box. Learn to use that platform to meet people, and so this is the other side of that. So as we've got the Pampered Chef party group and I've got the Mary Kay party group going on Facebook, right? When it was done, all those people that were in her Mary Kay party group, I friend requested and had them join my personal page and then invited them to my Mary Kay private group. And my intention was then to follow up with all of them to then book parties with. And as I started to do that, we ended up setting up a recruiting interview. But so then what I did is I took her Mary Kay party group and we converted that to her VIP group. And she already has those people in there. And it was like a seamless transaction that I had no idea at the time that conversation that was gonna happen. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is cool.
So, and that was really me stepping out of my comfort zone. Now I've done quota sales 5 times. As directors, we've earned cars. We've had so much success in our business, but that doesn't mean that we don't struggle. It doesn't mean that we don't get hit up against a brick wall. Lori, my red jacket, and also one of my dearest friends, she fought me for I don't know how long telling me I needed to get on Facebook. And I'm like, I'm good, I don't need to be on Facebook. I'm good, I don't need to be on Facebook. And then when the company told me to, I'm like, all right, fine. And can it be a time waster? Yes. Can you get lost on there? Yes. Should you? No. Okay, so I don't encourage that part, but really look at it from a business standpoint. You need to create a presence that is familiar, that is comfortable, that your friends and your customers and your family can connect with, but you want to keep that business aspect as well. And also set up a business page so that you have that going along with your VIP Facebook group. So the dynamics of that class that turned out to just be a very normal, I thought was going to be a normal skincare class, turned into something that was completely different. And then for it to come full circle and to have her actually join our team, I think was just the icing on the cake. And definitely something I don't think I had told you guys that, that I didn't see happening, but was pretty exciting. So any questions on the Facebook part?
So do you still do Facebook parties on?
I'm going to. This just happened. So our party was the end of February. So when I knew she recruited the first week of March. So I mean, this all just happened. So yes, and I know one of my adoptees in the room has been hearing all of this and learning all of this. And Stephanie, do you want to share what's happened with you this last week?
With the Facebook parties, yes, I've been trying to really get back into Facebook parties. It was something I had done at the beginning of my Mary Kay time, and then it sort of fell off my plate. It's sort of similar to your story, actually. I have several friends who have other direct sales businesses, and so I reached out and said, why don't we trade? And we're just doing those Facebook parties. So I just recently had a Pampered Chef party, and she had we kept them separate though. But right, so it helps both people to be able to meet new people. And that party was very successful. If you're getting into Facebook parties, I try to do a lot of like the fun party posts, doing things with emojis and predictive text and try to keep them engaged, having fun. not just, and then also adding in more of the informative, talking about the products.
Nice.
I'll try to go live at least once or twice, showing me using products. So I try to have a large array of what I'm giving them in that time, and I usually run them for a week. And this last party was my most successful. And I was able to book 2 more parties from that one. So that way now, and the party I've got right now has over 30 people in it, and so I'm very excited to be able to, yes, thank you. And
And her party was over 356.
it was, yeah, so I had 356 in sales plus, yeah, the 2 new parties. I reach out to everybody and private message them to introduce myself, ask them like what kind of skin, do you have, what sort of issues are you having, what products are you interested in. So that way during the party on Facebook, I'm making sure to address anything that they've shown any interest in, to give them that personalized feel their stuff.
Nice.
That's awesome. And I will say, Stephanie made a comment, and this is another way I can show you that us directors are not perfect. Stephanie said she goes live. Stephanie goes live a lot, and I love watching Stephanie's live. And so at the end of Corey's party, it was the last day we were closing the party, and I decided Lori's laughing because she was with me. I'm gonna go live. And I said, okay, Lori, how do I do this? What do I do? And she's like, hit this button. And so I gave my little final address to them and thanked them for ordering and said my adieu. And I thought I had stopped recording. And I didn't. But I thought I did. And I turned to Lori and I went, whew. I go, that wasn't so bad. I look back at the screen and I'm like, oh, wait, it says this. Does that mean, oh, and I got up. So I put a little comment. I said, if you've made it to the end of the video, you've got a good laugh. So that was my first live. So, you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect. But if I wouldn't have done it, I wouldn't have sold over $4,100 worth of product in February.
That's wonderful. Do it anyway, right?
It was great. Yeah, it was cool. So another thing, while I still have a few minutes, I want to share with you is the concept that I've been working with my unit, and I feel like they are really learning and growing from this, and I wanted to share it with the new ladies in the room and have them hear it for the 150th time. But one thing that we do every week, or that I personally do every week in my business, and this is what changed my business and helped me get back through DIQ and finish directorship last year, was a 30 and 24 challenge. And this concept came from Bill Cantrell, and Bill passed away in June of 2023. And Bill was a big motivational speaker in Mary Kay. He taught the DISC program, which is the personality program. And Bill was particularly close to my national, who's now in Emeriti. And so Brenda had introduced me to Bill years ago, and he worked with me personally. And so he was a very, very dear friend. And when I had heard that he passed away, I wanted to take something that I had learned from him to honor him. And that was that concept, was to make 30 contacts in 24 hours. I do that once a week, ladies, every week. I have done that once a week, every week, since June of 2023. Sometimes I do it more than once. Okay, now let me define what that means, okay? So on day 0, not in your 24 hours, you're gonna create a list courageously of everybody that you wanna reach out to. And that's not when you're gonna call them. You're just making the list to do the 30 and 24 challenge. Because when you don't have to call somebody, that person that intimidates you or maybe makes you a little nervous can be put on the list, okay? So you make a list, at least 30 people, okay? To get 30 contacts, you're going to need to reach out to more than 30, okay? Okay, so do at least 30. And then you set aside a 24-hour time period to reach out to them. Now, I like to do like 2 or 3 in the afternoon to 2 or 3 in the afternoon, because it gives me more time within a 24-hour period to make those calls. If you set your time from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m., well, you really only have the one day to make the calls, because you're not going to be calling people at 6 in the morning, okay? So then you start your list, and I categorize my people. If it's for a booking, I put a B next to their name. If it's for recruiting, I put an R next to their name. If it's a customer service call for product, I put a CS next to their name. So when I'm making my list, I know why I'm calling each person.
And you do that ahead of time.
I do that ahead of time. When you're creating your list courageously, right? You're not nervous. You're not wondering what they're gonna say. You're just making a list of people. Where do I get those people from? Well, my PCP list, my phone. If I challenged all of you to pull your phones out right now, you could probably find 10 people in your contacts on your phone that you've never talked to about Mary Kay. I don't care if you've been in 5 minutes or 5 years. I could too. Okay? There's people that we just add in our phones and then we never mention our business, or it very rarely comes up. Okay? So you go through your phone, you go through your Facebook friends, you go through Messenger, you go through, and you can message people too. You don't have to physically make the phone call. You can copy and paste a text. You can make this really simple. Lori was at my house a couple weeks ago, and I've been talking about doing this 30 and 24 challenge again and talking about it. She was bound and determined, and she decided to do all customer service, and she reached out to 30 people in 40 minutes. By copy and paste. Okay? And she got it done. And she's like, I wanted to just do this. And she felt so, and she had reorders from it. Okay? So you get to cross them off as a contact when they contact you back. Okay? So if I text them, I write text. If I leave them a message, I write left message. If I send them a message through Facebook, I put Facebook. So I know how I reached out to them. And I brought this with me. I have my day planner. And I pay a little bit more. I get it on Amazon. Still very old school, sorry, it's paper. But in the back of this particular day planner is a section of notes. I'm hoping not everything's gonna fall out of here, but you guys can see. Okay, there's 50 pages of notes, and I can go back. And those are all my daily, all my calls when I choose to do them, okay? And I like this planner because those notes are back there. And at first I thought, gosh, if I do this every week, I'm not gonna have enough. But you end up just kind of ending wherever it ends on the page and just kind of going from there. It helps you keep track of who you're contacting, how frequently you're contacting them, and you're constantly staying in front of people. And the other challenge to that I've given my unit is if you're new, Marsha's brand new. She just signed up a couple weeks ago. And so she may not know 30 people. Then do a 10 and 24-hour challenge. And do it every week. And just stretch and grow to that 30, okay? But by doing that, it's concentrated time. It's a 24-hour time period that you are setting aside for your Mary Kay business. And you're reaching out to your customers. Yes. And they're hearing from you, okay? And then if someone says, and the other cool thing that happened a few weeks ago is I had reached out to a bunch of people. I don't remember what my sales were for that week, but I had 3 people that told me, call me back next week. I need stuff, but call me back next week. So when I started my list for next week, guess who the top 3 names were? And in the first 2 minutes of doing my calls, I had over $300 in sales because they wanted to order. Well, that kind of made me motivated to reach out to the other 27 people who stayed included. Okay? So, and also play games with yourself in your business. If we all want to work towards wins. When we work, we win, right? And winning makes us feel good and it makes us want to do more. Okay? So call your easiest customers first. Call the woman you know needs foundation. Let her get a yes.
It's satisfying.
It is. It's very satisfying. And it makes you want to do the next one. Excuse me. And then I always like to call somebody that I know is going to be a win right before that hard name, a person that intimidates me a little bit. Or when I want to call and ask for that interview. Okay? Get a win and then do the hard one. So you get let off the hook when you make the list. You don't get let off the hook when you actually go to do the calls. Okay? And so you're going to find that doing that kind of work each week is going to build and build and build. And that was what helped us get back to DIQ and actually get through it. I was a sales director from 2000 to 2008, stepped away from that position, and from 2019 to, what year are we in, 25, to 2019 to 2024, I had done DIQ 3 times. So that was my final go round, was doing that 30 and 24 challenge and just getting it done, because I was finally in front of enough people. Because this business is the numbers. It's all about numbers, whether you're selling, whether you're recruiting, whether you're just building a business, it's about numbers. And I have a new gal in my unit that she impresses me every day, because she's young and she is not afraid of the word no. It does not affect her. And I've taught my unit, no means nothing's changed. Okay, you didn't have the contact before. If she says no, guess what? You still don't have one. But when someone says no to us, it stings a little bit. We don't like it. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. But how long you sit in that moment is the intensity of that no.
Very true.
Okay? And so if you can go, no, okay, cool. You go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. You get a couple yeses, and if I asked you how many no's did you got, you're not gonna remember, because you got your yeses. Okay? And years ago in Mary Kay, we would say, some will, some won't, some won't, so what? And that's the attitude you just have to have. If I went around and asked everybody in the room if they wanted to stick a gum, some are gonna say yes, some are gonna say no. Does that mean you don't like me because you didn't want my gum? No.
No.
Okay? Same thing with Mary Kay.
Yeah, for sure.
There are other good product lines out there. Some people choose to use the wrong ones, and we can't do that. Okay. So I encourage you to really set aside some concentrated time in your businesses, and it will revolutionize, it will change, it will transform, and you will see results much more quickly by doing that once a week.
Okay.
Okay.
Right on. Okay, I think Kathy escaped to bring out lunch. We'll be doing that in just a second.
Okay.
Bob, are you in the Facebook group or no?
I am not.
Okay, so I'm gonna help him get into the Facebook group, because that's where we're supposed to be going live in. And we're gonna be breaking for lunch, and then after lunch, we have some training for you, and then